So the Pokemon Direct was yesterday morning, very early in the morning. So if you're someone that's in the Pacific time zone, it was pretty much at 7 o'clock a.m. Well, for the Eastern folks, I believe it was at like 10 a.m. or so. Yeah, 10 a.m. And then for the Midwest, or I think it was for the Mountain Zone. I think it was like an hour behind or so of 10 o'clock. But anyways, so in yesterday's Pokemon Direct, we got free projects that were shown, or four technically, if you want to count the two versions of this certain project. First of all, we once again got another look onto Pokemon Snap, the remake version of that, and it looks obviously beautiful. The visuals are just what you expect for a game that promotes the idea of exploration, for you to do stuff and just go all over the place. The reason I'm not going to talk about that too much is because I already kind of did that quite a bit on like the Pokepod and on my friends' streams whenever we talk about it. So in case you're curious about that, I'll give you at least a quick synopsis or quick thoughts about my opinion about Pokemon Snap, which is that like I said, it looks beautiful. The visuals look great. It looks really faithful to the idea that you're going all over the place, just taking pictures of Pokemon and just like recording them in your adventure log or whatever, and just like doing stuff for the professor. The only question I have really, and another one, is that I want to see what more we can do in Pokemon Snap. Like, I know the whole gimmick and the whole idea is to take pictures of Pokemon and just record the data onto your adventure vlog or whatever, and then deliver that data to the professor, and then you go from there. I just want to see if we could do more than that. I just want to see if there's a little bit more accessibility. Like, is there more stuff to do other than just taking pictures? Can I, like, you know, do more than that? So, and the reason I'm not saying much is because I don't know what they would consider doing for like the more expansive features for us to do in this game in Pokemon Snap. So the only thing I'm really looking for at this point is that I'm looking for them to polish up the game a little bit, which looks like it's getting to that point, or it's already there. Or basically, what I'm looking for is just, like I said, more accessibility features, just more stuff to do, and a little bit more incentive to play Pokemon Snap. I'm not saying that Pokemon Snap is a bad game by all means when I say that. What I mean by that is I just want there to be a little bit more incentive, like a little bit more reward for doing all these things. Like, maybe, like, let's say a fucking, rare Pokemon with like good IVs, or maybe a certain hidden ability mod. If you do, like, let's say 1,000 images, you get like a fucking hidden ability good Pokemon, like a Gibble or whatever. Maybe some incentives like that. So incentives, more accessibility features for us to do a little bit more in Pokemon Snap, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. So I imagine we'll probably talk about this again on the Pokepod on Monday. So in case that's the idea, I will probably go into more of an expansive font by then. So I just figured I'd talk about Pokemon Snap first, because most of this episode is probably just going to be talking about the other two projects that we saw, or technically three if you want to count the two versions as like separate projects. But to me, I count them as one. But anyways, so yeah, basically the Pokemon Direct starts off with that, and then obviously they have like the nice. Honestly, I like the intro that they have for the Pokemon Direct. I thought it was really fucking nice. It really captivated the 25 years that we've gone through as a franchise, to go from like the beginning all the way till the end, and the fact that they showed off like some cool ass fucking things, like for example the Hey You Pikachu, the little bit snippet of the Ash versus Kukui battle near the end. The fact that they went out of the way to give a shout out to certain gems of like, throughout our time in the Pokemon franchise that you wouldn't really expect them to acknowledge, was really awesome. So, and props to the fucking people over at TPCI or whoever is responsible for coming up with the intro, because it was just really fucking nice that they really took the time to really understand, like, not just the fucking common things that people always give a highlight to. Like, obviously they're going to highlight the games and the anime, all that nonsense, but there are some things that they acknowledged in the intro that I wouldn't even expect them to do. Like, I wasn't expecting Hey You Pikachu to be acknowledged, or certain other things. Like I think the manga was in there as well. So first, again, I just want to give a shout out to the people who and the folks behind the driving force of the intro. So that was just really awesome by the cinematic presentation. All right. With that being said, let's go straight into the first thing on the top of the hour, which is Pokemon Diamond Pearl remakes. You guys already know my stance about the Diamond Pearl remakes. So before we get into the actual project themselves, here's what I'll say. And I said this yesterday on my stream, and I'll say it here again. I still think that remakes are kind of unnecessary. Unnecessary in the sense of how often we go back to it. Because think about it. We had the first one came out with Fire Red, Leaf Green, and then there's Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and then there's Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So right off the bat, that's 3 remakes. Although technically, like I said, you can maybe count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you really want to be that technical. But in all honesty, I'm just gonna count them as under one project. So I'm gonna count that as 3. So yeah, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. So that's about 3. Now, I've said on stream that I understand why people want to go back to the regions like that, because you're giving the chance to modern players that have either never really experienced Sinnoh, or you're giving the veterans a chance, or I don't know if it's a chance, but basically you're giving the veterans the option or whatever to go back to Sinnoh in a faithful manner with today's graphics, and giving that region a uplift in that department. And while I understand that reasoning, I think there's definitely better ways of going on about that than just going for a 1-for-1 remake, which is what I thought they were going to do here. Which I know maybe a little bit weird stance to have, considering that Fireland and Leaf Green had a little bit of changes that they didn't have in the original. Same thing goes for Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I mean, shit, I would know. I'm playing Heart Gold right now. So Heart Gold is definitely not a 1-for-1 remake. And then Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire definitely has some changes as well. And I'm still kind of disappointed that they didn't add the battle tower. And yes, I am very well aware of the reason as to why they didn't place the battle tower, but I don't like that reasoning, because there is actually a lot of people that would have actually grinded the fuck out of battle tower and really make an effort. And I think it's kind of a lazy reasoning, because I think you definitely could have provided battle tower with more incentives to people to actually try it. If you give people more of a reason to actually fucking do it, you definitely could have made it work. But it's 6-7 years since, or 8 years since then, so not a big deal at this point. So I don't know why I thought that for a moment that they were going to go for a 1-for-1 remake here in Diamond or Pearl, which is funny because there's actually something about that they kind of said to that, but not really. But my main concern with going back to Diamond and Pearl, or not Diamond and Pearl, going back to Sinnoh in the remake is that why? Because to me, and this is something that I said with Kuro Blitz, which by the way, if you don't know who Kuro Blitz is, he's a very good friend of mine. He's someone in the anti-poke community, and he's someone that's really good when it comes to these theories and ideas as to why certain things are implemented and why certain things may or may not happen. But me and him basically agreed that the way that you would go back to Sinnoh, if you really do want to go back to Sinnoh in terms of having a game, I think the better way of going on about it is do a sequel. And the way that we kind of talked about it is that when you do a sequel, you're basically expanding. You're basically opening up more storyline possibilities. You're opening up character development to really take and shine, and you're definitely encouraging change to the region itself. I mean, just look at this for example. I think if Fire Red and Leaf Green, if I remember correctly, or no, I think it was Gold and Silver. I think I could be wrong about this. So if anyone in the comments can correct me on this, if I'm wrong about this, then please do so. And I do apologize if I do get it wrong. But if I remember correctly, I think it's Gold and Silver, where you go back to Kanto, right? You go back to Kanto, but they take out some of the areas that you already went to in the original games. They took out some areas that you couldn't go to again. And I was thinking, well, maybe they could do that here, but they can replace that with new areas for you to explore. Like, for example, maybe you couldn't go to a certain part of the Sinnoh region on the left-hand side, but you could finally go to an unexplored area on the right-hand side that you couldn't have gone to before. So maybe that's, I mean, I thought that's what they might end up doing, or that they were going to do. But me and Kuro basically agreed that a sequel would be better, and we definitely discussed some ideas as to how they could do it. Some ideas I remember us talking about, for example, was that, let's say Cyrus comes back with Giratina, and he has this re-owned or renewed aspect to not only destroy the world, but change it into another distortion world because it fits the idealistics and his idealistics for a world. So he wants to destroy Sinnoh and just turn it into that. And let's say Team Galactic has new leaders in command. Like instead of Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, it could be the other 3 planets. And no, I'm not naming a certain planet in particular. And in case you're old enough, you would know exactly which planet I'm talking about. But anyways, so not only that, but you can also have like some characters change a position. Like for example, you can have Barry as the fucking Battle Typhoon or whatever it's called. It was definitely an idea that Curl said that I was really interested in that they could probably do. Cynthia, I don't know what I said for Cynthia, or I don't know what we said. I don't know what we both said for Cynthia, but I think for Cynthia we said that either she retired as champion or maybe she fucking became like a world tournament organizer, but it's just still really fucking good. And let's just say that someone else became, champion. Like let's say maybe your counterpart becomes champion. Maybe as like a fucking acknowledgement to Red and Blue or Gen 1, where it's like your other counterpart becomes champion. I know it's not much of an original idea, and it's weird for me to suggest that because I've always been an advocate of going back to fucking Kanto concepts as often as we do. But that was one of the ideas I was thinking about. Or maybe the same thing remains champion, but I don't think we talked about much there. But anyways, so not only that, and let's just say that Professor Rome retired, and let's say this up and coming young groomed professor that was part of Roland's staff becomes your professor of the region, and he's someone that's a little bit more part of your adventure. Like he's someone that'll tune in a little bit more often and help you out along the way when it comes to certain things. Like that's definitely something that they could probably do. So there were definitely ideas exchanged. And this was before the Direct. So this isn't something that we talked about afterwards, after what we saw. Definitely not. These were definitely ideas that I for sure thought that maybe they were probably going to do. But as we all know, obviously yesterday came on about with the Direct, and we got our stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about the Diamond Pearl remakes under the names of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. First of all, the names are kind of cool. I definitely wasn't expecting Brilliant Diamond. Shining Pearl sounds about right. That's definitely something I thought they were maybe going to go for, but I was not expecting Brilliant Diamond. Like, it's not bad actually. I'm not gonna hate on that personally. So the other thing is, how do I feel about the remakes? First of all, I think the remakes look kind of cute because obviously they're going for the chibi art style, and they basically, from what I know, they basically look like the more modern design versions of what we saw in the original Gen 4 games, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because if you look at what they looked like in the Diamond Pearl Platinum games and you put that into the modern day design with what we have available, I think it's about right. I think it's about right as far as like how they could have gone. And I like the fact that they're not afraid to just simply not just copy the Sword and Shield style and just try something a little bit new. And no, I'm not saying that just to shit on Sword and Shield. I mean, shit, if you're here for that, you can go to fucking Twitter because people do it all the time. But no, I'm just glad that the remakes at least are doing something a little bit different with the character design, even if they are like the more faithful modern design look of what they looked like in the handheld versions for the from the original games. So character design, I have no problems with it really. The graphics look awesome. Obviously, from what we know, it's not finished. Although some people may be like, "Oh, you're using it as an excuse." I mean, I'm not using it. I'm not using it as an excuse. What I'm saying is, I just don't think it's quite final yet. Like, obviously, it needs a little bit more polishment, or polished stuff on the graphics and all that stuff. So I just don't think this is the final build yet. I think they're definitely going to show us a little bit more later on, because obviously what we got in the Diamond Pearl remix segment, you could tell that there definitely wasn't a whole lot there, because it looked like that most of the stuff in the game was just from like the barely first half of the game. Like, obviously we saw our hometown, we saw the underground. Actually, maybe that's not the case, because they did show us Snow Point City, but maybe that is as far as they've gotten to, as far as like actually putting it together on a trailer and then showing us off. So maybe I could be wrong. So I don't know. I'm just not gonna judge on the graphics yet, because obviously I want to see more and see what it looks like down the road. So maybe by, like, let's say June or July, probably by June, because obviously they definitely would like to show this on at E3. So by June, I'd like to see like a little bit of improvement and see a little bit more defining style, or a more defined look once everything gets a little bit ironed out here and there. So there's that. And obviously it's a nice touch of the Switch being there, the new TV, because obviously for every main Pokemon game, they usually do this thing where it's like, depending on what year it is or what time of the life is or whatever, they would normally show the console at hand. Like, for example, I think for Diamond and Pearl they had the Wii, and I think for Black and White it was it was still the Nintendo Wii. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the Wii U. And I'm pretty sure Sword and Shield was Nintendo Switch. I'm very sure it is. But if not, then fuck. I guess I'm not a faithful fan. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, I just like the touch and the nice acknowledgement of like the system that you're kind of playing on. So basically, whatever you're playing on, it's kind of reflected in a way in the main game next to your TV, or maybe not necessarily the console you're playing on, but more so like the main console that's around the time that the game was made or whatever. So I like the acknowledgement and the nice trivia look from there. So besides that, obviously it looks like everything so far is about as expected from Diamond or Pearl. Although there have been some people on Twitter that have mentioned that there are some things that were exclusively for Platinum that are definitely in the trailer. Like, for example, in Forma Town, if I said that correctly, in Forma Town in Platinum, there was a lady right in front of the Poke Store, I think it was, or some sort of building, where she was right in front of the place, and I think she's the one that tells you about what was it called? The Gracian, for a shaman. I think that's what it's called. So basically, she was the person nearby there, or right in front of there, and she basically tells you about that, and I think leads you to over there. So the fact that she's in the trailer like that, gives me the indication that they're definitely going to bring over some Platinum stuff over, which I would definitely love to see, because I know that they said they want to remain faithful to the remakes, or to the original Diamond and Pearl in the way of the remakes, but I don't want them to be afraid to bring over stuff that isn't from Diamond or Pearl, like exclusively from Diamond or Pearl. Like I would encourage them to bring over some stuff from Platinum. Like, obviously you gotta fit in Giratina in some way, maybe as like a story DLC, or maybe you put it alongside the main story. I mean, either way, I definitely like to see Giratina part of it. And then obviously some other stuff, like, I don't know how they're going to handle diversion exclusives. Like, if you're going to bring over some Platinum stuff, maybe throw in a little bit of, or maybe evenly divide the Platinum exclusives, and you put them into Diamond and Pearl remakes, and you just split them up evenly. Maybe that's something they could do as far as that's concerned. But other than that, there's really not much that they've shown that you would expect to see in terms of Platinum content. I just happen to think that the lady at the Forma Town is probably a real indicator that they might add like some stuff here and there. So I guess one of the last few things I could say about the Diamond Pearl remakes before we move on is that the Pokemon look nice. Obviously, it's not anything special because they looked exactly like you would normally think they would look in a Switch game, especially with the fact that obviously Pokemon's got a little bit more experience on the Switch. So I would imagine that they're taking that expertise and their acknowledgement, their knowledge, and just place that onto the Diamond Pearl remakes. Now I know some people are probably thinking, but Richie or R597, they're not making it. I'm aware they're not making it, but you also have to understand they're also collaborating or they're assisting in the collaboration with the studio that's actually making the remakes. Because if you remember, right after the trailer, I think they showed up an image where it shows that they're in collaboration with that other video game company whose fucking name I can't think of for some reason. But I believe that they made one of the Dragon Quest games. So for those that are kind of curious about that, and if you love Dragon Quest, you might end up liking this one. So definitely something for sure I'm like very interested in, to seeing how the expertise and the knowledge from that same studio can, be applied here in Pokemon. So I'm definitely very excited, especially with the experience and the brain at hand from Game Freak. So definitely something I'm looking forward to, both minds colliding together to make this spectacular remake. Again, I'm still on the stance that remakes are not necessary, but as long as you at least do something a little bit different, instead of it being for a one-for-one remake, which may look like it was at first, but I'm definitely part of the crowd that if you add in some different stuff into it that stays true to the theme in Sinnoh, and as long as it makes sense in the logistical sense, then I don't see how it can happen. But overall, the Diamond Pearl remakes are exciting, but I want to see more, and I definitely want to see if like they can do some of the stuff that I think they should do for the remakes, while promoting the fact that it's a revisit to the old region of Sinnoh. Well, not old region, but a revisit to Sinnoh in the way that you would expect it to be. But I also don't want them to be afraid of actually trying out new stuff, because if you're afraid of trying out new stuff and it's just a one-for-one remake, people are going to complain about it being bland. People are going to complain about this being like, oh, why don't you add some new stuff so it's a little bit different at least. So that's my hope, but we will see if that'll be the case. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. By the way, the legendary Pokemon Dialga and Palkia, the renders of those two look fucking beautiful. And speaking of Arceus, who just appeared on my fucking screen, let's talk about the next thing and the last thing of this Pokemon Direct, which is Pokemon Legends Arceus. First of all, I did say before the Direct was even like announced for yesterday, I did say before that if they were going to do something like this to where they have a fucking remake to Sinnoh, which I was against and I'm still somewhat against, I would hope that Game Freak does this thing where it's like, okay, depending on whatever we work on the remakes or not, and by or not I mean like just say let's just have someone else work on it, which definitely they did, so I'm glad about that. But what Game Freak would actually work on in return is another game that's not necessarily a remake, but it still kind of goes back to Sinnoh, but not in the sense of a full-on remake. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I predicted Pokemon Legends Arceus, because the only thing I really predicted for this sort of project is I thought that it would be in a sequel basis. I thought that maybe it would just be the same in terms of certain elements of Sinnoh into the sequel. But there definitely would be a lot more changes than there be straight up direct things from the original versions. But no, they took a step further and they said, fuck the sequel, we're making a fucking prequel, my man. So they came out with they revealed Pokemon Legends Arceus, and the RPG style that we're seeing for Pokemon, I think is something that the franchise sorely needs, because I think Pokemon is at a point where they definitely got to try out something a bit new, and definitely, understand at hand of what you need to do in order to make sure that this kind of style and gameplay elements work. And I'm really excited to see Game Freak, making that a reality, which is what they're doing. And I know, it doesn't look as polished as of right now, but you also have to understand, it's not the 100% final version yet. So I'm gonna hold off any judgment about how it really looks until we get more refinement in terms of the game, and just as long as they know what they're doing as far as like the graphics, the story, the gameplay elements, and the mechanics. Which, by the way, let's talk about the mechanics. It looks like, based off the trailer, you can just literally I like the fact that you can literally catch the Pokemon without having to go into the usual battle style that we normally go to, where it's like, oh, it's like a constricted camera all over the place, and then you have to pick out the move. Well, I mean, you still probably have to pick out the moves, but what I mean is that it's more open worlded battle style, to where you can just do that without having to feel a little bit constricted, which is always fucking nice. And I'm really fucking excited to see how they're going to further implement this to other things in Pokemon that we normally would be able to do. Like, for example, like getting healing your Pokemon, or going to the center, or I mean, obviously besides catching the Pokemon, what about just battling in general? I know we saw a little bit of that, but I want to see more of it. So I think Legends Arceus is like a very intriguing game, and I'm very excited to see what more of it we can do. Although I am very I will give them props in terms of like the starter selection, because I kind of thought that maybe they would just stick with Chimchar, Turtwig, and Piplup, because obviously this is going back to Sinnoh, the old Sinnoh. So I thought that maybe they'll stick with that. No, they pretty much just said, fuck that shit, we're doing something different. So for the starters, they came out with Rowlet, Oshawott, and Cyndaquil. First of all, I like to give the acknowledgement and the credit or props that it's not a single fucking Kanto Pokemon or a Kanto starter, because the Kanto starters have their time to shine, and they've pretty much been all over the place. So I like the fact that Pokemon decided to do something a little bit different in terms of starter selection. Like, you have Gen 2 in there, you have Gen 6, you have fucking Gen 5. I mean, I think it's a really nice fucking combination. And it's always something that I think Pokemon would have to do eventually, if they are going to continue doing the more of this style of a game when it comes to Legends Arceus, which from what it looks like, maybe that'll be the case. So I like the fact that they're doing I like the fact that they're doing this, because they're basically acknowledging the fact that, hey, we can't just keep continuing doing the same shit when it comes to starters just because it's Sinnoh. So we're going to try something a little bit different. Although I do wonder, though, just out of curiosity, I do wonder if the starters themselves have like any special meaning behind them. I mean, I know that they said that basically the professor, I think it's professor, but basically they have like an image where they basically explain that basically the starters of Legends Arceus basically came over as starters from the exploration of the researcher of the game. So basically, the researcher went out his or her way to go get the Pokemon and then present them to you as starters. So maybe it's just nothing more than that. But part of me feels like that, since that they're not Sinnoh starters, I feel like maybe they have something a little bit special to them. Maybe they have like a special ability at their final evolution that maybe you can do, or maybe they'll bring back Mega Evolution or whatever. Now, you might be thinking, why the fuck would you suggest Mega Evolution? Obviously, take this with a grain of salt and don't look any further into it until we get more confirmation and information. But basically, the merchandising for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and shout out to PokeShopper, aka Ryan, for the tweet at hand. But basically, the merchandise reveals a Mega Lucario and Mega Charizard X as like, I guess, one of the upcoming products for not necessarily to go with the game, but they're under the brand of the open world RPG. Now, of course, once again, it could be something completely different, and they just so happen to coincide with the title, and maybe it has nothing to do with the game. But I would find it a bit interesting if they do try to at least bring back a mechanic Maybe just to stick true with fucking Gen 8, maybe they'll stick with the Gigantamax and Dynamax. Maybe we can get like a very good perspective and feel for how they were back in the old days. Because obviously, Legends Arceus takes place in the more feral Sinnoh. So it's a Sinnoh that takes place, it's a Sinnoh of like the old times. Not like the modern day like we are about to also have with the remakes. So maybe they could do that. Or maybe they're just like, fuck that shit. Maybe we'll just do something else. I definitely don't anticipate Z moves being in this game unless they really want to give us that, that choice. So they could definitely do that. Or maybe they just do Mega Evolution. But I honestly think that one of the more likely choices is either Mega Evolution or Dynamax, or, let's say Dynamax / Gigantamax. Although part of me feels like they'll probably just stick with Dynamax / Gigantamax just because it's still part of Gen 8. So, and I definitely don't see them like doing much more than that. So basically I guess that's one speculation point, is that maybe the Legends Arceus starters maybe will have something special to come along with them, or maybe just in general in terms of mechanics, maybe they can bring back one of the two things. So we'll see. First of all, not first of all, but basically the other thing too is that I'm really excited that Arceus is getting his fucking redemption. Now, I know some people may be thinking, well, why does Arceus need redemption? He's the god of all Pokemon. But that's the fucking problem. He's the god of fucking Pokemon. Well, the problem is not exactly him being the god of Pokemon. The problem is that he's the fucking god of Pokemon, but he's kind of a fucking wimp. Because, okay, if you look at the base stats of all the Pokemon together, like if you look at the total base stats, he's not even fucking top 3. Not even top 5. That's fucking stupid. First of all, that's not only stupid, but that's also embarrassing. Because it's like, well, you would expect the god of Pokemon to at least be top 2, top 3, and whatever. But the fact that he's not even nowhere close to that is pretty fucking sad. And if I remember correctly, I could be wrong though, so if anyone actually has the table at hand, obviously feel free to correct me down in the comments below. But if I remember correctly, I think he's only just above the Donlings and the Donling form of Necrozma infused with Solgaleo and Lunala. I know one of them has like a different name, but the only one I can remember is fucking Donlings. And I think the other one is Darkmane. I'm not sure. But anyways, the point of the fact of the matter is, fucking Arceus is not even like near the top of the fucking table when it comes to like the total base stats. And that's a little bit embarrassing. And I know it might be a little bit weird to address this, but I know some people may be thinking, well, what? Do you want this man to fucking be OP and destroy us? No thanks. I mean, first of all, like I said, he's the god of Pokemon. Second of all, I definitely am not suggesting that. But what I am suggesting is that he should be a little bit more fucking stronger. Because to me, if he's not even fucking top 5 and he's supposed to be the god of Pokemon, that's a little bit fucking embarrassing. That's a little bit embarrassing. Have this man at least in the fucking top 5, and maybe I wouldn't really complain as much. But no, what I'm definitely suggesting as well is that not only do you do that, but I definitely would suggest adding a little bit more counterplay to it, so that way people can actually have a little bit more of a chance to really come at this Arceus. Although I feel like if they're going for this open world RPG style and a little bit more emphasis on the difficulty, maybe that's not what they're going to do. So maybe I am asking for chaos. I mean, I don't know. But I definitely think it's a little bit embarrassing that Arceus is not even close to that shit. But it's not just the base stats in total or of everything that he gets shafted on. I mean, just look at him in general. Like, back in the original Diamond Pearl games, I believe, or I think Platinum as well, I believe that the only way that you were even able to get fucking Arceus, if I remember correctly, is through a fucking event. So if you didn't end up getting Arceus through that event, you would basically have to fucking actually replay the game to even get the chance to fight them. And obviously, of course, the only place you'll find them is at the top of Spear Pillar. Just use the flute, you wait for the stairs to appear, you walk up, and then there he is. He's right there waiting for you. But the fact that it's really the only way for you to access Arceus if you couldn't even do if you weren't able to do the event, is pretty fucking sad, because it kind of limits your accessibility to the legendary Pokemon. And I definitely am kind of curious as to why they thought like that was a good idea. I'm not sure if they had something different for Platinum. Maybe they did because obviously movie 12 exists, so maybe they also had another chance at it. But the fact of the matter is, there wasn't really that much accessibility to Arceus unless, maybe, you got it through trade because it was either hacked or maybe someone bred it. Who knows? Actually, I don't think Arceus is breedable. But if he is, once again, correct me if I'm wrong. So I definitely think that having Arceus as like the first Pokemon to be in the title of this Legend series, if that's what they're gonna start doing, the Legend series, which I definitely think they should do because the potential of it is really expansive, no pun intended. It's really out there, it's really open, and it allows, certain character storylines to really plop up. It allows the gameplay mechanics and elements to really mesh in really well with not only what Pokemon is going for as a franchise, as a video game, but also as well, just how everything's going to come together when you put everything under one roof. And I think Pokemon Legends Arceus is definitely going to not only give Arceus the redemption he actually deserves, but I think he's finally going to get like some sort of edge when it comes to the story. And I know some people might be thinking, well, what do you think is the chances of them doing either Primal, Ancient, or whatever they want to call it, Primal / Ancient / whatever Arceus? I definitely think that's something they probably could do because, again, this is taking place in like the old Sinnoh. And I think one of the ways that you probably could give Arceus his redemption, besides maybe a base stat buff, is that maybe you just give him a new form, one of his new forms. And I'm not talking about just the plates. I'm talking about like, just give him like a primal version, maybe give him like ancient form or whatever. I think ancient Arceus sounds more plausible than primal in all honesty. But I don't know if that's something that they would do. I don't know. And honestly, we don't have a fucking clue or evidence point as to whether or not they would. And I don't expect us to have that anytime soon unless more stuff comes out for the game and once we can finally connect those dots. So until that happens, I'm not really gonna speculate on that because there's really nothing to go off by. There's really not. And I know it's kind of weird for me to say that because I'm part of a fucking group in the Pokepod where we literally made a fucking what was it, like a 2.5 hour discussion on like fucking 30 seconds of footage. So it might be kind of weird for me to say that, but at the same time, just because you do that doesn't mean you still won't understand that, hey, there are some things that we can probably speculate on and there are some things we probably can't based on what's available. So I just don't think there's very much you can really say as far as whether or not Arceus will get a form. Do I think it's possible though, even without the evidence point? Possibly. They could probably do that for sure. I just don't know whether or not they'll do it as like a game exclusive thing. Like for example, maybe they'll just keep it within that game and that you couldn't transfer it over to like, let's say, Sword and Shield. I definitely don't think you'll be able to anyways, because obviously that would imply that, they would, go through the effort of putting in the form as like a legible thing to put into the game. And then not only that, but you also have to think about this. You also have to then do the Dynamax shit, maybe Gigantamax if that's what they want to do. And I'm pretty sure that's something that they don't want to do. Unless, they somehow patch that in with like a final DLC for the game or whatever. Which I kind of am hoping that maybe they would. But what other areas can you really explore in the outright of fucking Galar? Because obviously we already have Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra. So unless they decide to randomly make up something that's at the very top of the region as like this more expansive world, then I don't see them really making a patch just to accommodate for this certain Arceus. Which if it doesn't happen, then that's fine because that's not really something I'm asking for anyways. So I guess one of the last few things I could say about this project before we wrap things up is that I'm definitely more excited. I mean, obviously I'm excited for the game. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for the way it looks. I'm excited for the way that how you can do certain gameplay mechanics, how you can implement certain elements into your adventure and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for that. But I'm a fucking sucker when it comes to fucking video games that actually know how to execute good fucking story. Like, I think Legends Arceus is probably one of the most promising potential games coming out not this year, but next year. It's probably one of the more upcoming potential games that could really give us a good story. And Pokemon is no stranger to actually making good story before. I know some people are very debatable or when it comes to like a good story existing in Sword and Shield. to me personally, I think Sword and Shield has a good story. I don't think it's 10 out of 10 perfect, but it's definitely not as bad as people somehow, for whatever reason, are making it out to be. I don't know. Maybe they're triggered by truth or something. I don't know. But, and I say that, and there's a fucking Turtwig on the screen. It's fucking stupid. But no, in all seriousness, I definitely think that in terms of like why I'm excited for the story is because, like I said, I think there's a lot of potential you could do with a story taking place in the old Sinnoh, because you're then able to like establish some ground, and then because you also have to keep in mind whatever you establish in the old Sinnoh, that also would have to apply to the modern Sinnoh. So maybe you can explain to us of like, let's say, oh, Cynthia's ancestor or whatever. Like, let's say Cynthia's ancestor was the one that was like the old school Cynthia before Cynthia even was born or whatever, or conceived. Maybe there was Professor Rowan's mentor or dad or mom that was the professor, and then when he or she died, or whatever, they passed on the torch on to Professor Rowan. There's definitely some character storylines I'm definitely very interested in. Maybe there was an old school Team Galactic to some degree, and then they would try to do their stuff there, and then when that failed, maybe they were like, fuck it, we failed, but next time we'll be back, and the next time you see this organization will be very menacing and whatever, the typical, oh, I'll be back bullshit by like the evil villains. So maybe they could do something like that for Team Galactic, if that's something they want to do for the Legends Arceus game. Or maybe there won't be a Team Galactic in this game. Maybe it'll be like a different evil organization or a set of people that maybe want to override Arceus and take it for themselves, so they can control like the region and the world. So maybe that's something they could do. But I'm just excited in general as to what they can really do as far as like like I said, the gameplay elements, the gameplay mechanics, the story, and just more of what we can do. Which obviously we don't really know much, because the games were literally just revealed yesterday. So I definitely think by like E3, which is probably gonna be around like, actually no, it's not probably. It's gonna be at June 15th, I believe. So June 15th, I believe, is when E3 is gonna come around, and I think around that time that Nintendo's probably gonna have their Treehouse presentation. So I definitely think that for both the remakes and for Legends Arceus, I think that will probably be the next time we'll get a lot more information. I'm sure there'll probably be like some updates here, a few updates beforehand, like before we get to the month of June and around the time of E3 in regard to these two games. Maybe nothing major, or maybe it will be something major, but I anticipate there being like a few updates here and there, but I'm not sure. So yeah, overall, to close my book on Pokemon Legends Arceus, I'm definitely more excited for it than the Diamond Pearl remakes. And I'm not saying that to shit on Diamond and Pearl remakes. I'm saying that because the Pokemon RPG title is just, first of all, very exciting, and it's something I have been waiting for Pokemon to do, and I'm very glad that they're taking that step forward. The only thing I'm kind of worrying about, obviously, is that how are they going to implement like the certain RPG elements that you would expect to see when it comes to an RPG open world type of game. So how would they implement that to go along with like the usual elements and mechanics and elements and whatever that they normally would do for Pokemon? Like, how would you combine the two into like something great? So not only am I curious about that, but I'm very curious to see how they're going to implement the story. Is it going to be a story that kind of sets up the modern day Sinnoh, or is it going to be a different kind of story to where it sets up its own stuff, and whatever happens in the modern day Sinnoh has nothing to do with the other story at hand, which I think would not make any sense at all, because there's been a lot of references and shit to like the old days of like Sinnoh. Whenever you're playing Diamond or Pearl or Platinum, you would always like read up books that tell you like the history of the Sinnoh region and how people used to do this and that. So I think for the story, I think they should remain faithful to that idea and just do this thing where it's like the events in the old Sinnoh kind of in a way affect the modern day Sinnoh. So, which, by the way, modern day at this point would be like the old school Diamond and Pearl / the Diamond and Pearl remakes. Or, yeah, all three of the Sinnoh games. Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, old school, and the modern, the remakes of Diamond and Pearl. Like, I want to see the old school Sinnoh events and story kind of affect that in a way. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. 44 minutes of almost 45 minutes actually. Almost 45 minutes of good old discussion when it comes to these two games in particular. So I'm very excited for both of them. I'm just more excited for Legends Arceus because I think it has a lot of potential to be really fucking good, and I'm really excited to see how they're going to implement everything and just how everything's going to be executed. So obviously, if it ends up flopping or whatever, I'm not going to be one of those people that just completely shits on the game and then say, oh, I never wanted it. Because no, I'm never going to be like that. Unless it legitimately deserves it, then I'm not going to be like that. Because I think the Pokemon Legends Arceus game is definitely going to be good. I definitely think it'll be good. Maybe not 10 out of 10 perfect, but I think it's too early to say because once again, we have to see more of the game. We have to see more of what they're going to, put into the game and offer us to do in the game. So, other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much it for today's episode of Richie's Thoughts. The next episode will finally be the episode that I said would happen, which I immediately fucking forgot. But basically, the next episode of Richie's Thoughts, I'm going to try to have that out next week. And basically, I haven't decided what topic it would be. It'll probably just be the other topic that I was originally going to do for this episode. But that was before the Pokemon Direct was announced and before that was shown off. So I had to make an exception for today in regards to the episode. So, and the topic, of course. So yeah, that's pretty much it, everyone. So this is it. Episode 5 of Richie Spots. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And be sure to catch me on Twitch on R4Dude97, where I'll be streaming good old video games. As of this recording today, I am going to be streaming Pokemon Heart Gold at 6 p.m. Pacific. Actually, I don't even know if I should really mention that because by the time this video is uploaded and whatever, the stream will probably happen. But anyways, just follow me on R4Dude97 on Twitch in case you're interested in watching my streams, where sometimes I will go into the discussion format and just talk about stuff if it warrants the type of thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much. And once again, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and give me some love on not only my Twitch, but on my Twitter of the same name, R4Dude97, where you'll find content creation updates, content creation uploads, and all that who has. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is it for me. Have a nice day. R4Dude97, signing out.